They think you have nothing to say, nothing to add, nothing strong enough to enter the room. But usually, the opposite is true. You stay quiet because too much is happening at once. You notice the pause before someone answers, the joke that sounded harmless but landed strangely, the shift in a person's face when a certain name comes up, the energy in a room changing before anyone admits it changed. And because you notice so much, you don't speak carelessly. That's the part most people miss. Picture this. You're sitting with other people, and the conversation is moving fast. Someone is talking over someone else. Someone is laughing a little too loudly. Someone says, "I'm fine," in a voice that clearly means they're not. By the time you've registered all of that, the moment to speak has already passed. So you stay quiet. And from the outside, it looks like you're withdrawn. Inside, your mind is doing crowd control. You're not empty. You're processing. And for a lot of quiet people, that silence is not a lack of personality. It's a form of filtration. Your brain doesn't just grab the loudest signal. It picks up the background static too, the emotional subtext, the tiny inconsistencies, the things other people skip because they're too busy performing ease. Psychologists sometimes connect this to deeper processing. In plain language, it means your mind doesn't just glance at things. It lingers. It turns them over. It asks, what did that really mean? Even when everyone else has already moved on. The first layer of this is attention. You're often scanning more than you realize. Not in a dramatic way. More like your mind has too many tabs open, and every one of them is tracking something slightly different. Tone of voice, body language, timing, what was said, and what almost got said. Research on attention suggests some people naturally take in more detail before responding. And if that sounds like you, silence can become the space where all that information gets sorted. So while other people are reacting, you're reading. And that can make you seem calm, when really you're busy. But that's only part of it. Another reason quiet people notice everything is that silence gives observation somewhere to grow. If you're not spending all your energy broadcasting yourself, you have more bandwidth to receive. You catch patterns because you're not rushing to fill every gap. You remember details because your mind isn't only focused on how you're coming across. That's why you might remember the exact sentence someone said 3 months ago. Or notice when a friend's, "I'm just tired," sounds nothing like regular tired. Or feel the tension in a room before anyone names it. You're not imagining things. Your brain is collecting fragments and building a picture. And this is where it gets deeper. For some quiet people, noticing everything isn't just perception. It's protection. If you learned early that moods could change quickly, or that people didn't always say what they meant, your brain may have adapted by becoming highly observant. Not paranoid, just prepared. Your nervous system started treating details like clues. A sigh, a silence, a delayed reply, a change in footsteps, a certain look in someone's eyes. Little signals became early warnings. So now, even in ordinary situations, part of you is still reading the room before you relax in it. You're not weak. Your system just learned that awareness can be safer than assumption. The strange contradiction is that this can make you look detached when you're actually deeply engaged. You don't always show your reactions in real time because your reactions are happening on a deeper level. By the time you understand what you feel, the conversation may already be somewhere else. That's why quiet people are often emotionally misread. People assume loud feelings are the strongest feelings. They assume the person who speaks first understands first. But studies on emotional processing show that some people process emotion more slowly and more deeply. It sinks in after. On the drive home, in the shower, at 1 a.m. when one weird moment from earlier suddenly makes perfect sense. You may leave a conversation thinking it was normal, then realize hours later that something felt off the entire time. And that delay can be confusing from the inside, because you're not only noticing facts, you're noticing atmosphere. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Quietness is often tied to selectivity, not absence. You don't speak at every opening because not every opening feels real. You're waiting for precision, for sincerity, for the moment when what you say actually belongs there. You'd rather say one true thing than 10 disposable ones. So when you do speak, it usually has weight. That's why people sometimes say, "You're quiet, but when you talk, it matters." What they're really noticing is that your words have already been tested internally before they reach the outside world. Of course, that gift has a cost. When you notice everything, you can also carry too much. Other people leave interactions and move on. You leave interactions with emotional screenshots, a weird tone, a flicker of rejection, a small comment you can't stop replaying because your brain tagged it as important. Sometimes you don't even know why something bothered you. You just feel the residue. Like your mind kept the receipt for a moment everyone else threw away. And that's why this trait can feel lonely. Because people praise perception when it helps them, but they rarely understand how tiring it is to live that way. To be the one who catches what others miss. To sense the tension nobody names. To notice the sadness under someone's humor, the distance inside someone's kindness, the insecurity hiding under someone's confidence. You end up carrying emotional information that was never officially handed to you. But there's another side to this that deserves respect. Your quietness is often a form of dignity. You don't force yourself into every space. You don't turn every thought into noise. You let things reveal themselves first. And in a world addicted to immediate reaction, that kind of restraint is rare. You seem quiet, but your inner life is loud. You seem reserved, but your mind is intensely connected. You seem hard to read, but you're often the one reading everyone else with uncomfortable accuracy. Still, there's an honest caution here. If this trait goes too far, observation can turn into distance. You can become so used to reading the room that you forget to enter it. So skilled at understanding others that you stop explaining yourself. So focused on noticing danger, tension, or inconsistency that you struggle to rest around people who are actually safe. And then quietness stops being peace and starts becoming hiding. Not because there's something wrong with you, just because every strength pushed too far becomes a defense. So if you stay quiet, it doesn't automatically mean you're shy, cold, or uninterested. Sometimes it means your brain is picking up more than it knows how to say at once. Sometimes it means your nervous system trusts observation before expression. Sometimes it means your inner world is too detailed to come out in quick, polished sentences. And sometimes it means you've spent so long reading others that you forget your own silence is saying something too. Still, there is something quietly beautiful about people like you. You notice what others rush past. You catch the emotional weather before the storm is obvious. You hear what people mean inside what they say. And even if the world misreads that as passivity, it often comes from depth. So no, you're not invisible because you're quiet. If anything, you see too much to pretend you don't. Do you usually stay quiet because you feel more, or because you trust less? And if this sounds like you, the next thing to understand is why some people replay conversations long after they end.